My third guy plays some games. Alright, hi everybody, Weather Guy here. We are back with some more of the great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and it is time to get set up for this trial, the first trial that we're having back in Great Britain. So that's exciting. We may see Van Zieks as the prosecutor again, which is great. And yeah, we're going to try to prove Saseke's innocence. And man, I had one of the best days of my life today. But I can't really talk about it. So I know that's not useful for y'all at all. But just know, yeah, for this video, and however many I decide to record tonight, it might be 2 more, I don't know. I might be a bit distracted because I have a lot on my mind, honestly. But things are good. Hope life is going great for you all as well. Hope you're having a great March. Hope you had a great St. Patty's Day. If you actually sort of celebrate that thing. Most people don't really do stuff for St. Patty's anymore. We had to buy our kiddo a green St. Patty's Day shirt for school so she wouldn't get pinched by her classmates. Alright, here we go. The Old Bailey. This place always makes me feel strange. I seem to get chills down my spine and break out in a nervous sweat all at the same time. Ryu is always nervous. That's like his main personality trait, right? Besides, like, I guess his determination. Which every protagonist needs, right? Good determination. Well, I didn't think I'd be back here so soon. Good morning! Good morning, Mr. Natsume. It's only 2 days ago that I was declared not guilty here. Yes, we somehow managed to prove he didn't stab Miss Green in the back. But now this! Another morning, another murder, and then here I am again in this hellhole! Can't keep coming to court. Getting to think he's right. It really does seem as though he's cursed. Mr. Ryu, I'm afraid I have bad news. Oh. Mr. Natsume, good morning. Yes, morning. So here we go again. Yes, again. This is great. Judicial Assistant Miss Mikatoba Esquires, what's the bad news? Oh dear, you heard, did you? You come in shouting at the top of your voice. People can't help hearing what you say. Oh, sorry. Done nothing wrong, Mrs. Sato. Now, what is it? It's just gonna be Van Zieks, right? Well, it seems that the prosecution in today's trial, will be led by Lord Barrick Van Zieks. We all know him. Van Zieks? Ah! Oh no, no. It's not that bad. We've beaten him every time. You know what I mean? He's incredible. He's dashing. He's a genius. But we beat him every time. He's awesome. Big fan. So-called Reaper of the Bailey, the most legendary prosecutor in the land. In the trial 2 days ago, he pursued Saseke and I relentlessly. Of course, by the skin of our teeth, we managed to pull through, but still. Perhaps Mr. Natsume's acquittal in the last trial wasn't the end of the matter, after all. Yes, I know what you're thinking. The legend of the Reaper that says, yeah, nothing can save a person in the dock when Lord Van Zieks is the prosecutor. Although we learned that the murder last time that happened after Van Zieks' trial of McGilded likely didn't have anything to do with Van Zieks, so. And even if that person is found not guilty, the accused will meet a mysterious end one way or another. That also didn't happen with Gina, as far as we know. Man, we successfully defended him at the most terrifying end after his acquittal, right here in the Old Bailey. Do I have to put up with those ice-cold eyes pouring into my soul again? Cursed by evil spirits and now by the Reaper. A petrifying perils, potentially. Well, if it's potentially... At least you appear to have hope, Mr. Natsume. Locum student Mr. Rio Esquire. Yes? I'm innocent. You have to believe me. You more than anyone now. Don't worry. I'll be your steadfast ally every step of the way in this battle. I promise. This promises to be a hard battle, I fear. Well, the trial is scheduled to begin shortly. We should move into the courtroom. Let's go. Oh, yes, I forgot to say, I'm afraid he won't be able to make it. Mr. Sholmes, I mean. Oh, no. It's probably for the best. Oh? If you were here, I might be tempted to rely on his help. That could be seen as a weakness. If Lord Van Zieks were to notice, he'd prey on it mercilessly. At least that's my gut feeling. Mr. Ryu. You're right. Yes, you're so right. Oh, well said, Lorcom student Mr. Ryu Esquire, well said. Because remember, he hates Herlock Sholmes, right? I swear on the sword at my side and on the spirit of Kazuma that it harbors. I'll show him what a Japanese lawyer can do. I'll set you free, with honor. Oh, yes. Let's go. It's trial time. Very good. We have some returning faces here in the jury box. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. Prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. Readiness for the trial, my learned Nipponese friend, is not what the defense needs. What you need is readiness for your inevitable defeat. Yikes. It's not just in my imagination, it's really there. Lord Van Zieks has such an animosity towards us Japanese for some reason. Some time ago now that he first became known as the Reaper of the Bailey, I believe. These past few years he hasn't appeared in court at all. And now he's back in the courtroom, though for some reason, only when I'm defending. This Reaper, with his curious disdain for us Japanese, is a prosecutor shrouded in mystery. Yeah, we still don't know a whole lot about him, honestly. Still, this isn't the time to be pondering that. I have to concentrate on Soseke's trial. Furthermore, I now call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to fulfill your duty? This guy again, he's been our juror like 3 times now. I think 2 times and once as a witness. Absolutely. I had a feeling this larrikin wasn't innocent before. I must say that I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat refuses to sit right. Oh, well, I rather like how we're wearing your hat. I think the ruthless look is very fetching, actually. This is a new person. I need to be somewhere at 10 o'clock. I have a very important meeting. Let's make this quick. Great. Well, couldn't agree more. I need to take home 5 bob tonight or the missus will go through the roof. Oh, may the Lord show us all the light here and lead us flock to a righteous verdict. Man, I always forget how to do some of these voices and what they sound like. I don't know. It's fine. It's no big deal. Hopefully. The British jury system is so very different to our own, isn't it? But yeah, those are all basically repeat jurors except for one of them. Interesting. I think I talked about this towards the end of the last video too, about that mystery being unsolved. It's quite extraordinary to think that the power of judgment is in the hands of 6 members of the public. That the judge can only pass sentence when all jurors are in agreement about the defendant's guilt. 6 citizens of London, chosen at random, or at least that's the idea. The prosecution would draw attention to the fact that the accused was on trial here but 2 days ago. Accordingly, where possible, the same jurors have been asked to return for jury today. Well, that makes sense. Very well, let us commence the trial. Lord Van Zieks, your opening statement, please. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is not the intent of the prosecution to cast doubt over your past decision. However, The innocent verdict afforded to this eccentric Nipponese before has had dire consequences. Did the accused repent for his wrongdoing in that affair? Far from it. Instead, he used his freedom to perpetrate a most blood-curdling crime, namely that of the attempted murder of his neighboring lodger, innocent Englishman. To explain the circumstances of the crime, the prosecution calls its first witnesses to the stand. Oh man, I'm assuming we're going to get Mr. Garrett up here, huh? The detective responsible for investigating the scene, and the accused himself. Oh, so we're getting Gregson and Soseki. Great, that's fun. Witnesses, your names and occupations, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. Soseki Natsume from the Empire of Japan. My government ordered me to come here as a student to study your language and culture. Mr. Natsume. Yes, my lord, sir. I'm quite sure I'm not mistaken that you swore an oath never to set foot in my courtroom again. I remember as if it were yesterday. The day before, in fact, my lord, but close enough. Believe me, this is the last place I want to be. Inspector, let's hear from you first. Explain the case for the court. Right you are, sir. It's time for witness testimony and then cross-examination. The incident occurred at the Garrett household, where the defendant has lodgings. In the ground floor room of the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare. The defendant has already admitted to visiting the victim on the night in question. Mr. Shamspeare collapsed in his room as a result of poisoning by strychnine. He was found the following morning when the landlord, suspecting something was wrong, broke down the door. This means, I presume, that the door to the victim's room was locked at the time of the incident. Correct, my lord. It was locked from the inside, making entry to or exit from the room impossible. Classic. This is like every case in Ace Attorney. A locked door thing. Every time. Although the victim, Mr. Shamspeare, lives to tell tale, he very nearly didn't. The man was halfway to heaven when we first found him. I was the first officer on the scene, my lord. And I have a photographic print here that I took at this time to show how it looked. Yes, a chilling scene indeed. The man looks very much deceased. That's right. Everyone present believed that's exactly what he was. Very well, I shall accept this photographic print as evidence for the court. Great. Let's take a peek at that. Now then, Mr. Natsume. Yes. As a defendant, do you have anything to say at this juncture? They're haunted. Haunted by evil spirits. Good gracious, what's haunted? My lodgings! There's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings! The tenant before me died in mysterious circumstances. A woman was stabbed by no one on the street outside. My neighbor was poisoned. And me? What about me? Poor guy. I've nearly been killed countless times. Go, Mr. Natsume, how? Even on that fateful night it happened. When I returned from Mr. Shamspeare's room, I lit my gas stove and climbed into bed, but before long, the stove went out, and somebody tried to kill me! Great. Let's look at the court record. Wow, there's more in here than I remember. So we don't know where the rest of this envelope is, but presumably it is important. And another thing that I'm going to make an assumption about here is the other part of this envelope will not be in the room. It would be on someone's person or found in a different location. Whoever opened this envelope didn't bother with a letter opener or scissors, did they? Yes, whoever opened it was clearly someone with an unrefined temperament. Judging from the angle of the rip here, the person in question must have been right-handed. Mr. Sato. I think perhaps someone's been reading too much of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Never read too much of it, Mr. Ryu, never. Great, let's find out if our guy here, Soseke's left-handed or right-handed. I don't know if there's a way to tell from what we have so far. I don't think so. Nothing we can really look at in this photograph yet that we haven't already seen, I don't think. Okay. Okay. You must always extinguish all fires before retiring for the night, Mr. Natsume. But it's so cold, my runny nose would freeze. Point is, I didn't poison my neighbor. Oh, why am I being accused of this? Why is my existence so cursed? Gosh, I feel so bad for him, right? Thank you, witnesses. I believe I have a reasonably clear picture of events. You have no picture of events. If I could raise one more point, my lord, one more conclusive point. Conclusive, go on. He's going to bring up the testimony of Shamspeare from when he woke up. Fortunately, the victim, yeah, I know it, Mr. Shamspeare has regained consciousness after his ordeal. He has named the true culprit. The poison consumed by the victim was administered in a cup of tea that he drank on the night in question. Tea, my lord, that was brought to the victim's room by the accused. The accused? Good grief. Order, order. Yes, that's the crux of this whole case. Soseke is innocent, and why has the victim accused him? Oh, Mr. Natsume, what have you to say to this accusation? That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shamspeare's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water especially to make it. This is the result. Never will I touch tea again, never! The public pump was frozen, you say? That's not information we've heard before. That will do, thank you. Now, according to our laws, the defense must have the opportunity to cross-examine witnesses at least once. Therefore, I call upon these witnesses now for a formal testimony. I presume the prosecution has no objection. None whatsoever, my lord. Good, then you will give your account of events on the night in question to the court now. Yeah. Yes, my lord. Great. Here we go. The main part of the game, doing these cross-examinations. It's around 9 o'clock that evening when I visited my neighbor and I took some tea with me as a gift. We had a heated literary debate over a nice hot drink, after which I went back to my room at around 11. My tea was completely harmless. He couldn't have locked the door behind me otherwise, could he? Strychnine takes some time to have an effect on the body. People don't keel over immediately after taking it. The victim would have been perfectly able to lock the door after his guests left. Their argument still stands. Great. That seems really tough. Yes, I see. It all seems relatively straightforward. That's what I'm saying. Unfortunately. Excuse me, but that testimony does raise one rather crucial point, I think. Let's do it, Susato. Tell me the news. Mr. Natsume claims his tea to have been harmless. Presumably, though, teacups have been examined for traces of the poison, haven't they? Why didn't I think of that? Well, as it happens, no. We haven't been able to. Did I hear you correctly, Inspector? Scotland Yard has failed to examine the suspect's substance. How could you have overlooked something so important? Is that the first thing you should have done? My learned Nipponese friend is falsely incensed. The inspector said Scotland Yard was unable to examine the tea, not that it was overlooked. Unable? Why? Simple enough. There was none left. Not a drop. Someone must have been very thirsty indeed. With current scientific techniques, it's not possible to test for poison under such circumstances. We only need a drop, but that one drop does actually have to exist, funnily enough. The lack of examination notwithstanding, it appears nothing other than the tea passed the victim's lips on the night in question. Maybe he did eat soap. I see, thank you. The matter is clear. Cast your eyes over the jury, my learned friend. What? You can see it in their faces, I'm sure. The recognition of the accused's guilt. Your client's fate is all but sealed. This is brutal. In mere moments from now, you will lose, and your compatriot will be damned for all eternity. Terrible news. He's right, I can feel all 6 of the jurors looking daggers at me. I can't let them beat me down. I won't. Counsel for the defense, proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. Great. Let's do it. Let's knock it out. Catastrophic night. Alright, we're gonna do our usual shtick here where we press, right? Were you and your neighbors good friends then? No, we weren't friends. Not at all, not at all. Never, ever. Simple no would have sufficed. Then, why did you decide to pay him a visit? Mr. Shakespeare fancies himself as having great literary knowledge. As a fellow scholar of English literature, we find much to talk about together. Come now. No Nipponese could understand the finer points of English literature. The night in question, that was a topic of conversation as well, I presume. It was the day of my last trial when I was acquitted. I just arrived back at my lodgings. When I ran into Mr. Shakespeare outside on the street, that was around 6 o'clock. We exchanged 1 or 2 pleasantries, but it soon turned into a heated discussion. He was on his way out at the time, though. So I promised to visit his room that evening at 9 to continue our debate. Did I have ill intentions? No, not one, not two, not any. Not at all. Never, ever. Simple no would have sufficed, I feel. That's right. Then tell the court what did happen when you visited the victim's room. Literary debate.
Hold it!
Literary debate about Shakespeare's works, I think you said, didn't you? Shakespeare? Ah, very worthy topic of conversation, I must say. Oh, yes, my lord. Romeo and Juliet, who was stronger? It's a profoundly pleasurable parley. Oh, that's a fun alliteration. Romeo and Juliet. Who was stronger? I know I'm going to regret asking this, but how did the debate go? Well, we both agreed that we would reach a conclusion more quickly with a reenactment. Oh, no. Oh, not the reenactment. You know what this means? You know what it means to reenact Romeo and Juliet? Gotta be poisoned. Or at least seemingly poisoned. Terrible news. So we battled it out in a Greco-Roman style, naturally. What? Mr. Shakespeare had all sorts of costumes in his room for such a contest. So when you say reenactment, you mean you were actually in costume? He is Romeo, I is Juliet. After a vigorous wild tussle, I, as Juliet, came out on top. A victory I'll cherish forever. Dare not imagine the terrible scene of carnage. The fact remains that it was you who prepared the tea and took it to the victim, correct? I boiled the water in my room and made a pot to take with me. I'd heard that he was too poor to have tea himself, you see. It's true, there was no sign of any tea leaves in the man's room. I wanted to do something nice, to be friendly. So why does everyone look at me with such suspicion? My tea was harmless, of course it was. Do you have any basis for that statement, witness? Yeah.
Hold it!
Yes, there was not a drop of tea left in the victim's room anywhere, was there? That's correct. Anyone would think the fellow had never had a pot of tea before. He must have licked it dry. Which is a pity, because one drop is all we would have needed to analyze it for poison. You know what this means? You know what this means that they brought this up twice? It means we're gonna find that last drop somewhere. Can you say that you returned home to your room at 11 o'clock, Mr. Natsume? Yes, definitely. But heaven and earth, I swear it. The landlord was able to verify that as it happens. He confirmed that the defendant went back to his room at 11 that night. How was the landlord able to attest to this? Yeah. Said it was the lamps, I believe. The lamps, Inspector? Tenants return to their rooms and start using gas. The lamps in other parts of the house flicker. Yes, Mr. Garrett seems to pay a lot of attention to the comings and goings of his tenants. There's only one key to Mr. Shakespeare's room, I know that for certain. So he must have locked the door himself from inside his room. The victim has confirmed that to be the case, yes. So I'm right, my tea was harmless, completely harmless. If you take poison, you die. Everyone knows that? It's not that simple, I'm afraid. What do you mean? Yeah, you already told us this. It's slow-acting poison.
Hold it!
How long does it take for symptoms to appear, then? According to the coroner I was speaking to at the yard, about 30 minutes after the poison's consumed. Then the victim suffers violent convulsions, cramping, and stiffness, and eventually dies from asphyxiation. There we go. So there's a 30-minute interval between when the poison is ingested and the onset of symptoms. There seem to be a lot of different types of poison in the world, that's for sure. Oh dear, death by poisoning again. It's always so awful. 30 minutes is a long time. Certainly long enough for the victim to have locked the door behind the accused after he left. Can't deny that. And further degrades Saseke's alibi. I have the medical report from the doctor who examined the victim here, my lord. It spells it out, really. The accused is the only person who could have done it. Very well, the court will add this report to the court record as evidence. Get that? Let's take a peek. We know that Saseki couldn't have done this. Look at this. It occurred at 1:30. He passed out at 1:30, which means he was poisoned at 1. And Saseki was already back in his room by 11, so... Hello? Great. The victim would have been perfectly able to lock the door after his guest left. The argument still stands. Press that. Argument still stands, you say? This is what Mr. Natsume has been saying, isn't it? The pair of them drank tea together that night, so if there was poison in it, the victim wouldn't have been able to lock the door after the accused left later on. Exactly. Me and my tea are innocent. Sweet and innocent, I tell you. I'm afraid, sir, that doesn't follow. You see, strychnine is a slow-acting poison. In other words, it takes time for symptoms to appear. So you could have left the room up to 30 minutes after the victim drank the tea. As long as you did that, Mr. Shakespeare could have locked the door after you'd gone. But no! We drank the tea straight away! Battle over whether Romeo and Juliet was stronger. That came after the tea. Do you have any evidence to support that statement? My great mind, homeland, the Empire of Japan, we have a saying. Drink tea while it's hot. Sure, a proverb will satisfy the prosecution. I'm afraid there's no conclusive proof to support the defendant's assertion. On the contrary, there are sufficient grounds to infer his guilt in this matter. No. That's the extent of their testimony, is it? If I could voice a personal opinion, Mr. Ryu. Of course, go ahead. Mr. is arguing for his innocence so adamantly and so persistently, and Inspector Gregson just brushes what he says aside. It's really quite infuriating. I agree. So we need to find an inconsistency in what the inspector is saying, I think. I'm afraid so. As things stand, the jurors are sure to find Mr. Natsume guilty. As I see it, what we need to focus on is the poison in the tea. Listen carefully to this testimony again. Yes. Alright. Let's present on this one with this.
Objection.
Witnesses last. Oh, this is. Oh. 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 Oh no. That should work. Because the times don't match up at all. Oh well, we'll look at something else. Oh man, I thought I was going to record a lot tonight, but I'm actually just going to record this one, I think. I'm actually exhausted. Today was such a day. Oh my god. You know what, I'll tell you what the day was today at the end of the video. You're not going to guess. Let's look at our evidence again real quick too. Oh, there it is. I went back to his room at 11, that's it. I missed that part of the sentence.
Objection.
There it is. Mr. Natsume, you say it was 11 p.m. when you left to return to your room, correct? Yes. And Inspector Gregson, can we rely on the information in the medical report unconditionally? Of course we can. There's no problem with that report, Sunshine. Actually, I think there's a very big problem. Because there's a chronological inconsistency between it and the defendant's testimony. Ricardo, what? What do you want about? According to this report, the victim must have consumed the poison at around 1:30 in the morning, and yet the defendant, Mr. Natsume, left the victim's room at 11. Yes, that's right. There's more than 2 hours of missing time there. In other words, if there was poison in the tea that Mr. Natsume brought to the victim's room, how could the victim have fallen ill to it 2.5 hours after the defendant left? Why is Mr. Natsume freaking out? The defense's argument is entirely reasonable. How do you respond, Lord Francis? Oh no, he's about to kill us with an argument. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna throw it? Are you gonna break it? What are you doing? Pray forgive the discourtesy. Ooh, he's saying the thing. He's saying the line. If my mind has wandered. I was considering what cuisine would best complement the contents of my hallowed chalice this luncheon. How could it have happened, you ask? There it is. I do hate to shatter illusions, but my Nipponese friend appears to be chasing a phantom idea. Brutal. Don't like to see that. Phantom? Is it so hard to imagine that the victim drank his tea after the accused had left? For example, at the time stated in the medical report. Yes, at around 1:30.
Objection.
Mr. Natsume brought the tea with him to drink together with his neighbor. In Japan, there is a well-known saying, drink tea while it's hot.
Objection.
And in my country, there is an even more apt saying. There is nothing more refreshing than cold tea. This is so silly. Point is, there was such a long gap. There may be other ways to explain how the victim came to be poisoned, other possibilities. What sort of possibilities, Counsel? Well, for example, the man could have had another visitor. Another visitor. That's a very bold assertion, my learned friend, from someone who has nothing to substantiate it. Or the victim could have taken the poison of his own volition. You suggest this may have been a suicide, counsel.
Objection.
Mr. Shamspear has categorically denied suicide. The idea can and must be discounted. You know, why don't we just ask Mr. Shamspear when he drank the tea? Why don't we just do that, right?
Objection.
Why can't we get a full thing of testimony from Shamspear? I know why, because it would break the game, but come on. Come on, tell us the news, Van Zieks. There's something wrong, Lord Van Zieks. I was listening to the sound of the carriage pulling up outside the courtroom. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Carriage? What carriage? It would seem that the key player in this case has just arrived. Is it Garrett? It's gotta be Garrett. Come on. Oh, no. Oh. Oh. Alright, we're gonna stop here with Mr. Shamspear's introduction to the courtroom. This is a good place to stop. Oh man, I have to be very extra with that next time. So, my news is that today, me and my wife, mostly my wife, we brought a second child into the world. I was there this morning when we had our our little boy born. So, all day today was with my wife and new kiddo at the hospital, and all last night before that too. And we had the baby this morning. It was great. But yeah. So now what's going on, just a quick general update, is they're both still in the hospital for a period of time. And I'm at home, actually, because I have to get my kiddo to school in the morning. My other kiddo. So, that's why I'm exhausted. That's why today was a great day. That's why I'm having a hard time focusing, because I'm a new dad today. Isn't that great? But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. I know that was totally out of left field, but I'm just excited, sleepy. But yeah, thanks for watching. We are still progressing in this case. I'm excited to hear Shamspear's testimony next time. No idea still who the actual what's the word I'm looking for? Who the killer is, the attempted murderer is yet. I have a feeling that's just going to be Shamspear. But the reason why I'm not so sure about that it was like a trick thing, is because of what Sosato said, that this ties into the bigger story. And I have no idea how this relates to the bigger story at all yet. So, and this seems like the Romeo and Juliet thing would not relate to the bigger story, like the contest between Shamspear and Soseki. So, I don't know. I think there's still a character or two that need to come into play here. That's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. Y'all are amazing. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Make sure you take care of others, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.